right? So what you need to do is, wherever you are a management, you have to involve your subordinates in the process, and due to the process they will understand the process, and that way they will create their expertise to do the process, and that's where you being a management can reduce your load, and you will develop the ability to get the works done through the others, just not by telling them or showing them the goody pictures, but you have to involve them in the real time application. So same thing is applicable to the students as well. Whenever you are teaching them any sort of concept, whether it is from management, physical education, medical science, nursing, whatsoever field you are, until and unless if you don't involve your students into real time process, the real time understanding among the students for the particular area in which they are dealing, it's very difficult. And that's why one Chinese proverb has said this: if you involve your target audience, they will create their mastery in this process, and which is the ultimate goal of the every mentor, that create the greatest efficiency among their mentees to whom they are mentoring, right? So this is the requirement of the process. So this is what this experiential learning with the Chinese proverb, that yes, you should experience first. You share your experience to your students, let them force to think, let them involved in the process. That's way you can create your learning into real-time practical exposures, right? So experiential learnings creates a practical exposures among students. This create the efficiency in the process. What is the message from national education policy? So with that consideration of the today's discussion, experiential learning, the national education policy introduced by Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Bhai Modi, right? So the same thing the national education policy has described, right? So the learning should be experiential. This is the first fundamental aspect that our national education policy is focusing on, right? So we had a lot of discussion on the experiential learning. Apart from the curriculum, apart from experiential learning, it should be holistic, right? So holistic is again a part of experiential learning. So holistic means it should not be restricted to the theoretical point of view, but students should have the real-time application, real-time gain of knowledge from the process is much more required. And we must take care being a mentors of our mentees. So it is a responsibility of the mentors to have the holistic development of the students, and it should be integrated. What is the meaning of integrated? So integrated means it should be aligned with the different department. It should not be like that. If I'm talking about management perspective, so there are various specialization in the management field, if I'm not wrong. So there is a marketing specialization, there is a finance specialization, there is a human resource specialization. So now to scenario, right, when we are talking about experiential learning, so no person can survive by working only in his own domain. That is, if I'm talking about one student has taken an HR, so that student should not only restrict his or her knowledge up to human resource. No, because they have to deal with multiple domains like finance and marketing. I'm not saying to develop expertise, but you have to create your efficiency in terms of the finance and marketing process. Because when you are in the organization, when you are on the job, you have to understand the different terminologies of the other department to have the smooth functioning for your own department. And this will create a synergy in the process and reduce your efforts and maximize your profit. Right? It should be inquiry driven. That is again the national education policy is focusing, means we should force our students to think on particular concept or theory. Let them give the assignments, let them allow to do some experiments, and with that experiment, let them ask, what is your experience out of these experiential learnings, right? So this is inquiry driven, discovery oriented. Yes, students should have curiosity that out of this process, what the ultimate results that they will derive. So it should be discovery based. The question mark should always be there whenever you give any assignments to the student. It should not be ordinary or identifiable, right? It should be extraordinary things. Learner centered, yes. If you are doing with the management student, We must take care that whatever concept, theory that we have designed, that we have developed, it should focus on the management concept, right? The real time applications of the learning objective should not get deteriorated by focusing on other areas and other department. Yes, it should be aligned with other department, but the core focus should be on the core values and degrees for which the students with you, right? It should be learner centered discussion based, yes, group discussion, group learnings, group assignments. So these are the various ways through which we allow the students to experiment, to discuss with others, because multiple human brains always create a synergy in the process. Even if they are not learning anything, I must say this, at least they will come to know the human behavior, right? And this is very important. That will come out with various kinds of experience that you will receive out of the various assignments that you have dealt in the past time with the humans and your colleagues or your students or friends, right? So this is comes out with the experience. Flexible, yes. So today's study should be flexible. If we are, giving some assignment, discussion, presentation, preparation to students, so we must allow some technological instrument to the students to use during the class. Because if we want to bring at the next level experiences, so students should allow to discover something, to search something, and come out with innovative solutions for the problem that we have given to them. So yes, the process should be flexible. It should not be too much monotonous, and it should be focused way to the point that we want to discuss. And lastly, no study, no experience will be possible, will be fully successful until and unless both the parties are not enjoying on their role. That is the mentor and the mentee. So whenever we are talking about experiential learnings as per National Education Policy 2020, the process should be fully enjoyable from both the parties, from the delivery side and from the receiver side, right? So it should be, learner centric. That should be the most important aspect, right? So it should be enjoyable. Now, the discussion point next is, what is experiential learning according to you, right? So that is the most important questions out of the entire discussion that we have seen, in a previous way in a Chinese proverbs, and the right now things we have seen as per National Education Policy 2020. So the finally, if we want to conclude, so when we talks about National Education Policy, so it should be active participation. Each and every student should allow to speak and interact during the process. And the individual participation, individual knowledge, individual experience, we must ask them what is your observation during the process. And that way students can enhance their skills, they come out with more better exposures. And sometimes it might be possible that if students are going in a real-time experiential learnings, there are certain new innovations, new findings that might be come out in the process, which we also not aware about it, right? So being a mentor, we should also ready to expect, we should also ready to adopt some new innovations that has been reflected from the sides of the learner, right? So this is also very important. It also takes into consideration reflections, right? So that is what I'm saying, reflection. If out of 10 or 15 groups, if one group has come out with the successful ratio, so this reflects to the entire class that yes, we have not taken this in a serious manner, and this group has taken very seriously, and due to which they are enjoying this kind of fruits as a part of the final outcomes of the results, which has been appreciated by the society, right? And this has been come out, and somebody is rigorously working on the experiential learning, and it always gives something new, extraordinary. And that's where there is a term in marketing, there is a first more advantage. And the first more advantage in the marketing has been shared because of, when you experience something, when you experiment something, you will get something new out of the market which others don't know. And that's where you are trying to take an advantage, the things which is not prevailing in the market. And that's where you can churn the maximum profit from the market. And that's why marketing is always focusing on first mode advantage. That is nothing but the experiential benefit that every researcher or every learner should get it from this process, right? So experiential learning is very, very important for the student development and for the career prospects, right? Then after collaborative efforts, so we must, teach our students that put your ego, self-esteem aside when they are on the learner tables. They should adopt the flexible process. They should adopt the multiple culture, diverse prospect, right? So their nature should be adaptive. It should not be conservative, because conservative nature always restrict learners to do the experimentations with the collaborative efforts of the other learners who are knowledgeable. So we always try to take an advantage of the others' knowledge at the same time to collaborate others' knowledge with our own knowledge, and that's where the synergy will come out. And with the collaborative efforts, some new innovation, some new business, some new products, some new services that will be definitely come out into the market, right? So collaborative efforts is always there, even if it talks about at our university or institute level. So we always try to focus on doing memorandum of understanding. This is called MOUs with foreign universities, right? So why we are inviting foreign universities? Because we understand that they are highly experienced than our own university in India, and we want to take an advantage of their experience in our university, so that our overall efforts towards student development will increase and our target audience should be maximum benefited. And that's why we can create the good names in the market in terms of student development, right? So this is the basic core aspect of doing such kind of MOUs and experiential efforts with other universities also, and that's how we are doing the process. And most importantly, when I was saying in the first slide, let me involved, I will understand. So until and unless any theory, any damn theory you are learning in the world, but if you are not experimenting by your own, you will not get the experience from your own aspect. You will not develop your efficiency in the process, right? So whenever, if you want to become a master's in any field or any area, the most important aspect is we have to do the experiment by our own. Until and unless, if any person is not experimenting with anything, they will not develop the efficiency to run the process, machine, product, or services. So this is the most important aspect, as in when we are talking about the experiential learning, that we have to create our own ability by involving our own self with the real-time applications in the process. That's how we can create the efficiency. So yes, learning by doing, very, very important line for experiential learning. So I'll give the full privilege to this particular line, that is learning by doing. Very, very important part for the experiential learnings. Clear? Okay. There is one model for the experiential learning cycles, if I'll remember. So one of the author called Kolb, he has given this particular cycle. This is a cyclical process. Person always to experiment, find out some loopholes, try again, re-experiment, try to get it the solution, report the findings and conclusion, and again have a scope of improvement, again start experimenting and keep updating ourselves. This person is called the survival to the fittest in this world. So we have to keep updating ourselves with real-time applications, whatever new inventions, innovations that has been taken place in our own field. And we, most importantly, we have to adopt such change. We cannot deny to adopt such changes, otherwise we are throwing ourselves out from the market, which we cannot do that, right? So we have to be very positive in terms of the changes that has been taken place into the market. And that's why this model is saying that there is a one aspect is called a concrete experience. So what is concrete experience? So concrete experience will come out when you act, do, and experience. What I said to you, until and unless if you don't do anything by your own hands, your hands will not be experienced to do that process, right? If in medical science, if I'll talk about, if you remember the greatest movie in the Indian history, Munna Bhai MBBS, so there was one word which was called by Dr. Asthana, right? Can you see this hand? हजारों operations किए हैं, right? But when I'll do the operation of my own daughter, it will keep shivering. Like, why he was giving this such statement? Because he has experienced thousands of operations of patients, so he know the pain and he know how to avoid such pain, right? Otherwise, what happens when we see such kind of process for the first time? We might feel faint during the process, right? But the experience, the gaining power, the power of facing such kind of scenes during the operation theater will always come out when person has done these things by his own. But still he was saying that if I'll do these things for my daughter, I might be shivering, because he was also aware, in spite of doing thousands of operations, but this is a kind of operation of my daughter which I cannot afford to do that. Again, this is called experience, because he was emotionally attached with his daughter but not with the patients. And not emotionally attachment with the daughter was always comes out with the experience, and emotional attachment with the patients also came out with the real-time applications of the concept that is called act, do by your own, and experience what else you can do it for the next time for the improvement of the process. This is called concrete experience that you will receive in during the entire process. Right. So very, very important when we are talking about experiential learning, that learner should have to enter into real-time market for applying the concept. Otherwise, he or she should not develop the ability to do the process. Very, very important lines, and we must focus on this. Reflective observation. So whenever you involve yourself in the process, I'll give you one psychological point of view. Whenever you passed out your entire day, right, just observe it. You have two sides of the brain, conscious mind and subconscious mind. So conscious mind means right now I'm delivering the session because I know what I'm doing it. I'm alive. No, I'm not sleeping. So this is called conscious mind. But when I go to my bed at the end of the day, you know, got a lot of tired with lot of work, and I'll try to feel myself in a very relaxed mode. The moment you try to put yourself in a relaxed mode, you just observe your unconscious mind will start active, because your conscious mind is going to sleep now. But remember this, there is a psychological theory, the unconscious minds of the human will never sleep. So whenever your conscious mind gets stopped working at the night, your unconscious mind will start, recalling your entire day activity. And that way you will always try to find out the good things and bad things that you have observed during the day, right? This is called reflecting observation, that you go back to your past, try to find out the mistake that we have committed. But you will only recall those things at your subconscious mind whenever you have done the things. Until and unless if you have not involved yourself into the process, how you can recall the mistakes that we have committed, right? So mistakes always comes out with the real-time learnings, and we must accept it. We should not get demoralized, but take it as a challenge, take it as an opportunity, and try to work on the mistakes. Definitely you will improve your process, right? So being a faculty, being a learner, we always teach to our students that you should always ready with the real time challenges and opportunities that you are going to face during the process. You have to be ready. Everything is not be ready on a serving platform, right? You have to make your own platform. That is what we need to teach our students. That is called reflective observation. So look back, assess your mistakes, and try to recall what went good and what not good. Whatever went good, focused on it. What not well, recall it, identify the causes, and try to work out on this particular parameter, right? So this is how it should be. Then abstract conceptualization. So whenever you have experienced something, whenever you have received something good results out of the process, try to portray such results in your mind or in a piece of paper. That is called abstract conceptualization, and develop your own experience, learnings, and finally reach to the conclusion that yes, this particular theory or this particular concept was useful or not. If yes, go with that. If not, try to find out others. Right. So this is how we can work out on such parameters. That is called abstract conceptualization. And lastly, it is called active experimentations. Right. So whenever you draw any conclusions and out of the particular experience and learnings, you draw a conclusion and develop a plan of actions. Right. Once you have experienced something, you have developed certain models to work out as a part of the process of learnings, and then after you have to develop a plan of actions कि आप लोग उसको कैसे रियल टाइम में करोगे. राइट. आप जैसे आप सोच रहे हो कि मैं स्टूडेंट्स को केस स्टडी पढ़ाऊंगा या मैं स्टूडेंट्स को केमिकल लैब में ले जाऊंगा, केमिस्ट्री लैब में ले जाऊंगा. सो वहां जाके आपका क्या रियल टाइम एप्लीकेशन होगा, आप कैसे इस प्रोसेस से डील करोगे. Right. So whenever you go for the first time, you always commit a mistakes, or you don't understand the human psychology, how to handle and how to proceed with this kind of process. But once you have done this experience with 3 to 4 students batches, and if you are dealing with the 5 years batches, then definitely your process has been improved, and that's why you have been called as an experienced faculty. And this experience always comes out from the previous experiments that we have done with the students. But always do remember, every student is our customer, and we must ensure that they should get the better knowledge from us, so that before dealing with the students, at least give some times for the experience. Try to build up your own draw conclusions and develop a plan of actions how you will deliver this particular content to your own target audience, right? So this will create and enhance the ability of the content, richness of the content, and the acceptance power of your target audience to adopt your concept will always going to improve, right? If you are following this kind of process. Okay. Then we are talking about the cycle of experiential learning, how the experiential learnings comes. So what is happens? So once we do first any activity, we do any activity with our students. Just a minute. Okay. Yeah, if we do any activity with our students, right? So this is called an activity that we have done with our students. So let them involved in the activities. See these reactions of the students from this particular activities, right? So record their observations, reactions, and share with others, right? So let's suppose if you are dealing with the first year students this particular experience, and share this experience with SY students that this was the observation during this particular process. Observe the pattern with the multiple batch of the students, that what is the common pattern that you have find out during this activity among the students. What kind of basic patterns that you follow, notice. Let's suppose the students are getting more attracted in the initial period, and then after gradually their moral is going down. Again, you do experiment with the another batch, observe the pattern that you have observed in the first student, second student, third student. And if this behavior is repetitively, then conclude that this is the common pattern that you are observing. But again, this kind of understanding analysis power will always comes when you have certain experiences, right? So experience always provide the analytical point of view to look the things, concepts and parameter, and this analyzing will make an inferencing. I hope you all are aware about research. You always talks about hypothesis, H0. So whenever we talks about hypothesis, we always talks about the samples, right? So whenever we talks about hypothesis, we are talking about samples, because we collect samples from the target population, right? So if suppose I want to see the management student behavior, in the Indore city, right? So what I have to do is I have to collect the samples of the management students from the Indore city, because I cannot cover the entire population of Indore city. So whenever I'm dealing with the populations, I am collecting some samples, and whenever I'm collecting samples, I have to draw the hypothesis. And hypothesis is nothing but drawing an inferences about the population for which you are making particular study, because whatever theory that you will develop, it is applicable to the entire population, right? So this is called inferencing about the result. And whatever results that you will derive out of the sample study through the hypothesis, it is applicable to the entire population, and this is called application. That is called applying. And once you are going for the applications, proper planned, proper strategy needs to be developed according to the situation so that people can deal efficiently with this kind of process, right? So this is the entire chain. This is the entire process through which we are dealing with. Now, the most important part and the last portion of the today's presentation is methods of experiential learnings, how we can make our learnings more experiential, more experimental. So these are the methods which we have observed. uh, Name of them is field trips, narratives, conducting experiments, simulations, games, storytelling, focused imagine, field observations, role playing that usually happens in management students, model buildings, right? This is happening through the physics science students where they develop some models and working on these models, even civil engineering where 3D models for the office or house should be built up, and then after the construction started with the real-time application. And lastly it is survey. So let's see one by one. So this is a field trip, which is called a structure activity that occurs outside this classroom. I still remember when I was studying in Ahmedabad. So I had my institution opposite to IIM Ahmedabad. So I observed many a time. So we had many assignments in the MBA times. So our faculty used one of the faculty for organizational behavior, where the behavior of people needs to understand. So our faculty was usually carrying us to on a road for various kinds of concept on theories of the organizational behavior, and he always try to makes us observe. He just give the assignments before going to the outside the field, and he explained the process that what you need to do with the vendors whenever you buy the things with the particular vendor. And he always try to explain the sub points of the theory that we are going to learn. And he always give an assignment that you observe the behavior whenever you do this kind of activity with the vendors. Even he has given an assignment that whenever you buy some poha bataka, right, and you tell to the vendor that I forgot the money, then observe his behavior, right? This is a kind of assignments we have focused. And when I'm saying a field trip, that doesn't mean I should go to the zoo, museum, or industrial field trips. No, field trip should be any where you have understanding of the observation of human and behaviors, right? So this is called a structured activity that always occurs outside the classroom, where students will observe the behavior with a particular situation. So so whatever you want to do in the field trips, be clear on what to do. Instruct student, as I told, my OB student faculty was always giving some glimpse of the title of the observation that we have to focus during this process. And also feedback, he always takes the feedback from the students that whether the field trip or the real-time application of the concept that we have done it, is it useful for the learning, have you gone real-time applications of the concept or not, right? So this is how we makes our content delivery more stronger and more enjoyable with the students. Narratives, so narrative means the clue points, the pinpoints, right? So we have to narrate those pinpoints out of the entire concept that we want to deliver in terms of the various tools of the narratives that we can focus on. Is this is the various tools that I'm talking about. We should use the charts, characters, spatial jargons. You can use some climax or endings, right? So if you are talking about some movies, so you talks about the climax that has happened in spite of discussing the entire movie. So climax is basically the crux of the movie that we are talking about. So whenever you want to convey any theory point of view or any concept to the student, you just discuss the climax and endings, right? So students will have the understanding of what exactly we are trying to say during the entire process. So this is comes out with the experiential. Not in the first instant, it might be possible that you can be deliver the students in a efficient manner, but yes, gradually you will develop this kind of skills and talents through which you can narrate those concepts to your target audience and make them real-time applications with the observation and support, right? Experiments, usually it happens in the chemical labs or medical labs, right? Let's suppose if I want to conclude that this particular person is malaria infected or COVID infected, so I have to go to the laboratory. I have to give my blood samples, and this blood sample have been tested by the laboratory person. And laboratory person has already experiment before testing my COVID sample, that if my result will reach to that level or we reach to these digits, then he or she conclude that yes, that this particular faculty or this particular person is COVID infected. If this result is not come out, then it is not infected, right? And we have witnessed the COVID-19 breakthrough, through which we have observed that medical science has always come out on a day-to-day basis, more and more experiments, and inform to the target audience that you have to first take care of this particular things. There is no medicine for COVID, there is no protection of COVID. Then gradually they have advised us, you take those kind of tablets, to have the nozzle bath over there. So many things has been come out, and today we have completely controlled the COVID-19 with the various trial and error process, right? So this is called experiments. We experiment things, and things will become an easy for us. And once we have experiment something from our own side, we are in a better position to explain the entire process to our target audience whatsoever, whether it is chemical lab, medical lab, or it is a social science concept also, then also it is the requirement of the today's scenario, right? So simulation means that concept should be understand with the proper visualization, audition, right? Audiovisual things are always required, and along with that audiovisual, if you have the real-time things like kinesthetics, which is called touching and doing. I have observed the government initiative taken by Shri Narendra Bhai Modi, right? So many a times the students and people of the citizen of India have been guided whenever person feel heart attack, right? So if doctor is not available, so how you being an individual can save the life of the person if ambulance facility and doctor is not coming on time, or they might take certain time, and the patient is putting into crucial point. So there are various sculpture which is available, electrical sculpture, that if you push the heart of the human for certain time with this particular technique, the human can survive his breath for some period of time. So till the time doctor and ambulance is not coming, you might be the witness to save the life of that particular person. So if you want to train the individuals with like this, like a commerce and management faculty and students, so you have to provide them a proper training, because if you are dealing with the medical students, and that is a different aspect. But again, to train the medical student, you always also have to give this kind of training in a practical mode, right? So without skeleton and human bodies, medical students can also not learn this. So yes, kinesthetic is very important tools for learning the things in a practical manner, experimental manner, and this experiment can have the more experiential learnings, which will enhance the skills, talents of the students. And we have to provide the more productive employees to the organization in the coming time period, right? So this is simulation, very important. Gameplay, usually it is a gameplay, usually career development skills, communication classes. So this kind of tools are usually happens and useful for the target audience to have the gameplays, and through which students are learning the various kinds of concept. Even if you have any sort of game, if it talks about, people have the learning and experiment from this. Storytelling, this is happens in management and commerce education field, where we used to have sharing of the experience of good and successful person, like suppose if it talks about Dr. Narayan Murthy, right? So he's a great personality, right? Infosys has invited him to rejoin the Infosys, right? So because Infosys has experienced a lot of great success, greatest milestone during his career, right? So how he has achieved this milestone, what is his behavior, how he being an individual, right? So every storytelling we talk to our students, right? So students will develop such kind of behavior efficiency, and most importantly, anywhere or any point of view, we have to talk to our students and teach our student that at last, out of all the experiment and all the experiential learning, he or she should become a good human beings. That is the most important message that we have to talk to our students out of the entire storytelling activity. And one of the example of it is Mr. Narayan Murthy, right? Very simple, very gentle, right? So this is a great learning lesson, and many more. Not only Narayan Murthy, there are many other people from whom we can learn the simplicity and efficiency in the process of the work that we are developing, right? So this is the storytelling part that we have to, teach to our students, and this has come out with the experience and experiments, right? Focused imagine, yes. So this is a psychological game, we where we hypnotize our students and make them force many meditations, yoga, fields, this kind of things happens, meditation. So they always taught, tell to the target audience, close your eyes, imagine that you are in this world, you are in this field. So they are dragging you to the real time situations to think about this particular environment, so to experience something new environment in which you are. Or even if you can see in the image, whenever you do the work with your colleagues and environment, political environment, so your mind has stuck up and your thought has imbalanced. So if you want to balance your thought, you can see the other part of the image, right? So circular process is happening very constantly. So if you want to balance your thought power, you have to do the meditation. You have to imagine that you are not in this world, you have to go into out of the world. So again, whenever we talks about experiential learning, so we need to bring our students into real time situation by having their own ability to think about it. And that's where the thinking power, the analytical power, the observation power, that will be developed in the minds of students to analyze the situation in a real time application. And being a manager, you have to take the decisions for the handling of situation. And if the certain person is not in a position to handle this kind of situation, in spite of having a good knowledge of the concept, but if you cannot tackle the humans, you are not a good manager. So being a good manager, being an experiential learners out of entire process, you must develop the mental imaginations of the situation. You should not wait for the situations to happen. Not every time you have to wait for the situation, do commit a mistake and do learn from the mistake. No, after having a certain knowledge, you should develop your own ability to think and behave accordingly. So this is called focus imagine as a part of experiential learning, and this is always comes out when you are much more experienced about the concept and market. Field observation. So yes, if it talks about the financial market, if you visit BSc NSC portal, even if you are a marketing person, if you want to observe the behavior of consumers, so we always send our students to go into the market, see the observation, feel the observation, right? And sometimes we always teach our students to become a vendor of particular things. And you have to listen and you have to observe the behavior of consumer. And that's why I have observed many of the institute of management and other universities are always comes out with the business innovation and business week, where students are allowed to open their own stalls and teach them the real time applications of the selling ability, and at the same time how to deal with the consumers, right? How to deal with the behavior of consumers and how consumers will behave. So accordingly, they will also develop their own efficiency, their own behavior to tackle the particular consumers, right? So this is called the field observation. So until and unless if you don't do the things or process by your own, you won't be able to understand. And that's why it is mentioned that this is a most commonly used method in social science, anthropology, ecology, and education, right? So most important tools for the education and social science to teach the students with the experiential learning. Role playing. So this is again applicable to all the field, whether you are in medical science, social science, nursing. So we have the role playing. We need to understand the behavior and psychology of every humans. So whenever you are acting as a particular, community, so you enter into the role of that community, and that's where you observe what what else or what could be the requirement of this particular segments of the people, and how we can mitigate the needs and requirements of the people. So that's where we can enhance the process of dealing with this kind of people, and ultimately they will be satisfied with our own services, like a doctor, nurse, lawyers, engineers, managers. So this is comes out when you enter into that particular person role, then only you will be able to understand the problems and solutions of that particular segments of the population. So this is how you can develop your understanding with the experience of role playing. Model building, right? So this is usually happens in the civil line, where the people needs to develop their own models before going to the construction, because this is an experimental based learning. So you have to try and experiment what kind of model will be possible, load bearing and all this aspect. Many technical things are there. I'm not expert of this, but yes, model building is one of the observations that we have to take it as an experiential learning method. Survey. So yes, we all are having a PhD, where we must have gone through this particular process, where we are taking the opinions of the people. Are you agree? Are you not agree? So yes, people might agree, so they say yes. If not, then it says no. So by this doing this survey, you came to know what people likes, what people don't like, right? What people enjoying in your lecture, what people are not enjoying in your lecture. So you have to work out for continuous basis to improve your process and delivery of the content, and that will come out when you are taking the opinions from the people through the survey, or asking them orally also, right? So this comes out with the experiment, and when, until and unless if you don't experiment, you'll not develop your understanding, you'll not develop your own study, you'll not develop your own theories, right? So this is the need of a requirement that we all must fulfill out of this entire process. And we should go with constant applications of the real time learning with our student, so students will get ultimately benefited. So this is the role of the teachers as a part of innovative teaching and learning pedagogy, and one of the important aspect is experiential learning. So that's it from my side. Thank you so much. Now I'll invite the questions from the audience. If you have it, please. Yes, please, Dr. Mahendra, sir. So you can unmute yourself and ask the queries, sir.
No, sir, there is no question. Just a compliment from my side.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, yes, yes. Uh, बहुत सारी न्यू आइडियाज और पेडागॉजी के बारे में पता चला। इतने सालों से टीचिंग कर रहे हैं, लेकिन कुछ अलग सुनने को मिल रहा है।
Okay, okay. Thank you,
हाँ,
thank you. So,
ये थैंक यू सर, ये बहुत अच्छा रहा आज की सेशन, बहुत अच्छा।
thank you, sir. Thank you for your patient listening also.
यस
So many a times we are delivering the content, but yes, again, this is one of the experiential learning that if few people are listening very carefully, so being a session a resource person and delivery person, we also enjoy that. Yes, people have gained something out of it. So this is a satisfaction that we also receive. Thank you, sir.
सर, थैंक यू।
Thank you. Yeah. Valli Parekh, Prakash, you have raised the hand. So
Good evening, sir.
yeah,
Sir,
please.
I want to need some suggestions, sir. In ours, I was working as a headmistress at school. So in
Yeah.
our schools, we have old teachers. The teacher old in the sense nothing but who are working up to 25 years, and we have certain new teachers also. While I'm the youngest person, if I'm introducing any new things to my department teachers, only the
Mhm.
new teachers can adapt all those things when compared to the old teachers. We cannot give retirement for the teachers, and we couldn't manage that old teachers as well as the new technology adapted teachers. So I want to need some suggestions from your side. How should I can manage the things?
See, one thing that I must say this, whenever we adopt new teachers, right? So many a times what I have observed, being a institute, what they commit the mistake, right? That from the first instant, the expectations from the people are getting very high, first of all. So first of
Okay.
all, we need to provide some platform to the new joinee to settle themselves in our organization, try to make them feel comfortable, right? And at least we allow them to work for some period of time, for the existing process that we are already following in our organization. And then
Okay.
after, we being a senior person, first we need to experiment whatever the things that we want to implement in our organization as a part of new part development, right? And once we are go through it, that yes, this is a process that we are comfortable to do that, then only we can download to them. But many of the times what happens, we are downloading to the junior level person without experiment at the senior level. So what happens, they get frustrated.
Yes, of course.
Right. So this should not be happen. We have to take a initiative, being a senior most person, and then after we should deliver to this junior most, because they don't have a knowledge. But the scenario is going in a opposite manner. The seniors wants to learn from the junior. So
Yes, of
this
course.
kind of
But
should be avoided.
few times they are not ready to learn. I have given many instructions. If you are not updated, you are outdated. So these are the things I have informed to my
So let
teachers. The
uh,
thing,
yeah, so we many a times it happens that the person is serving long tenure in the particular organization. So many times what happens, that person is constantly involved in one process, right, where he is not aware about the many other innovation which is happening in the market due to the fulfillment of the requirement of the organization, right? So many times what happens, that they are outdated. So it is a responsibility of the organization also to provide them proper training, right?
yes,
Make them efficient. And then after, if they are not doing it, so we should understand that he or she is not that much open to adopt such changes. But yes, if at least we should provide them some platform. Let's suppose if we want to involve Power BI or Tableau software for the data visualization perspective, so you cannot expect that the person who is working in your organization is well versed about it. But firstly, we should take an initiative to provide training to them, and then after we should have some expectations. And then after, if it is not happening, then must take a decision. That is for sure.
okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you for your suggestion,
Yeah.
sir.
Any other questions? Yeah, Ina Singh, madam, please.
May I also say something about the question ma'am was discussing right? So this is majorly a will issue, because of which
Will and
fear to adult people are not things. So if to cover these two things, I don't think so. The third तो लोग सीखना चाहते हैं. Fear remove हो जाएगा. Most of the people think they cannot learn at this age. With the growing age, they automatically become little slow in speed in understanding things. Once you tell them, they will not be able to understand things very quickly. Grasping power becomes, for some people, not again mandatory, but it happens. We become little slow in processing. I think that would work if ma'am could try that. That's all from my
Yeah,
end, sir.
see, yeah, because what happens many a times, when we are not experimenting and we are not in a connection with the outer market, we lost our thinking power, we lost our thinking ability. So that is the most important aspect that we have to work out, and we have to sustain this ability till the last day of our organization. That is what I wanted to say, because experimental is a part of process and everybody has to learn somehow or others. If yes, I can understand, madam has said that the when age is growing, the ability of grasping is definitely going to be down. But yes, we should adopt, and we have to learn how to take the work from others. If we are not doing it, we should train our juniors in such a way that, being a manager, we should take the work from them, but with providing proper platform and guidance to them. That is the right way of managers to do the work. Yes, Abdul Rahman sir, if you have any questions.
Sir, sir, let us update how to improve the quality of the research activities.
Sir, research is an ongoing activity. So in whatsoever field you are interested, so you have to go through the rigorous literature review first of all. And in which area are you?
I am an assistant professor in commerce.
Commerce. Yeah. So you are basically for social science, right? So you have to go through the proper literature review and identification of CAP, right? So which is very much important. So until and unless if you don't decide this, your blueprint for the research and further process will not going to be developed. And once it is going to be developed, you need to identify what else you can provide to the society, because research means you are researching, right?
Yes.
You are not developing new product, but you are developing something 0.0001% new concept out of the previous researcher, right? So you have to go through the very scientific process in terms of developing structure questions with the identification of the research gap that you have already generated, and with that the proper application of the research tools and techniques which is applicable in your data, right? And one thing I was telling to my students today only, that whatever you gain out of the analysis of the research, but until and unless if you don't know how to interpret the result of the report, right, and you don't know how to make a report writing, you cannot provide the right justification to the students.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Yeah, thank you. So any other questions?
Yes, participants. Any other questions?
So I think it's done
Thank
for
you
day.
so much, sir. Very nice
Yeah,
session.
thank you, madam, for sharing your experience as well. Thank you. Yes, Neha madam, over to you. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So thank you, Research Foundation of India, Ajay sir, Neha madam, and the lovely participant. It was night interaction for content delivery, and also the healthy discussion that we had it right now. So thank you so much for all. Thank you.
Okay. So as we bring today's session to a close, I wish to extend my heartfelt appreciation to all participants for your active engagement, enthusiasm, and invaluable contributions. A special acknowledgement goes out to our esteemed speaker, Dr. Kunal Soni sir, for generously sharing his expertise and time with us. I also want to express sincere gratitude to the organizing committee and its sponsors whose support has been instrumental in making this program possible. With profound appreciation for everyone's dedication and involvement, we officially conclude today's session. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Done. Excellent.
North Indian. He's Kurma.
Very good. Yeah, right.
Hello, who is the Sanjay?
Hello,
Please close your video or leave the platform. Sanjay.